Now we all love expensive tools from the big brands, and why wouldn't we? They're powerful, they're durable, and they look good when you get them out your toolbox. But do we need to spend this much money to get a good set of power tools? At the end of the day, most of us do DIY to save money. Well, every time we head into ScrewFix, we see this brand, Erbauer, ScrewFix's own brand. And today I'm going to review every single power tool in their core range and see if it's any good or not, to see if we can save you some money. So let's jump in the van, head down to ScrewFix and see what we can pick up. So we're back, and I just spent £942.89. Now that's the price for this lot currently, including the Connect storage system, which we'll take a look at as well, and that is the price at the end of February. So if you're after a kit like this at the end of February, that's what you'll pay for this lot here. Now I bought this lot out of my own money, it's not sponsored, and we'll have a real good look at what the features are like, what the power's like, and what the kit in general and Erbauer tools are like. So let's start to break this down. Now £942 sounds like a lot of money, but it's not for a 10-piece power tool kit. If you were to go with one of the bigger brands, Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee, you'd probably be looking, for this including the storage, you'd probably be looking around the £1,400 to £1,500 mark. So that does include 3 batteries as well, by the way. So you get quite a lot for your money. The price is good, we know that already, but let's start to break some of these tools down individually and see whether the features, performance, and the way they work in general stands up to some of the big boys. So when we start our tool collection, the place most of us start is with a drill and an impact driver. So we'll look at those first. Now this set costs 170 quid or 169.99, and you get the drill and impact driver with 2 5-amp-hour batteries, and you get your charger as well. So we're going to use our drill and our impact driver to build our little test rig here, because I've got this bench to test all the rest of the tools with a sacrificial top, and I need to screw the whole thing together. So let's see if our drill is up to the task. Now our drill has all the features you'd expect: adjustable speeds, multi-directional of course, and it has a hook to hang it on your tool belt. So let's put a bit in there. Chuck's nice, solid, metal, pretty good. Right, let's start building this bench. Now I need to put some screws through the edge of my sawhorse here, which is metal, into this piece of timber. If I use an impact driver, when the screw head hits the piece of metal, it could snap the screw head off, even with high quality Fisher Power Fast screws, which these are very good screws by the way. And even with these good screws, if we use an impact driver, we could potentially not only damage the sawhorse, but more than likely snap the head off. And that's why we're going to test out the clutch. So let's pop a screw in there first. So as you'd expect, the clutch works and operates nice and smoothly. Now we're going to test the power of our drill. We're going to switch it to its hammer drill function, and we're going to drill into this brick wall with a 7mm masonry bit. A very common job for you guys at home. Didn't really struggle at all, so it's got plenty of power for them DIY jobs. Let's test it against the Makita 40 volt, just to give it a bit of a benchmark. Now the Makita of course is going to be more powerful, you wouldn't expect anything else, but let's just see. Yeah, higher RPM, higher power, but more than double the money. So I'd say that's a bit of a win for our Erbauer. Next up, the impact driver. Let's see how that gets on. Like most of these, there's not a lot to them. Of course, like most of them, multi-directional, has a light on there as well, so you can see where you're working. Pretty standard. So let's carry on building our little bench here. Same screws as we did before, Power Fasts, but in 70mm this time, just to test the tool a little bit more. So we've got good control on the trigger. You can see I made some small adjustments on the screw there because it wasn't quite deep enough, and good power, good control. I didn't have any issues with that at all. I think it's a really good little tool. But what we do need to do is put in a slightly bigger screw and just test its power that little bit more. So we've got the Makita 40 volt, again a very expensive top of the range tool, against our Erbauer, and we're going to pop in some 5x90mm screws into this piece of timber. Now by doing this next to each other, we'll be able to see if there's much of a difference in RPM and power. So let's see. I'd expect there would be at probably double the price from the Makita. Let's go. It is certainly a lot higher in RPM and power, but if you notice, the Erbauer certainly, let's put it in a knot, certainly good enough for the majority of your jobs out there. So I'd say a pretty good little tool. Let's move on to the next one. Now the next thing you'll probably add to your kit would probably be a multi-tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the Erbauer one to the test. And again, we're going to use a high quality blade because we don't want the blade to be the issue. So we're going to use a Nesdal blade. Now this one does have adjustable speeds. We'll put it on max and it's got a clever little locking system there. Although you do catch your finger in it a little bit. It's not the most intuitive in terms of its locking system. When you look at the DeWalt, certainly a lot easier to put the blade in and out. The DeWalt is by far my favourite multi-tool. So all I'm going to do is take a little notch from the end of this piece of timber here and we'll see what the power's like. Nice and controllable, nice and powerful. I didn't have any issues going through that piece of timber. Now this multi-tool is £69 at the time of filming this video. So yeah, I think that is a win, especially for the money. Next up, the grinder. It is, again, a nice looking tool. I don't like the metal, the silver guard, but look, that's a personal preference. A nice, quick and easy to use system to change the disc on there. And we're going to put the same disc in our Makita 40 volt DeWalt discs, really good discs, and we're going to cut off these two concrete fixings here. So these are 10mm concrete fixings. We'll check out the power on both of our grinders. Again, if this can stand up anywhere near a 40 volt, it's already doing well. Right, so let's see if the Erbauer can come anywhere close to our 40 volt. As expected, that's what it says on the tin. Nice and easy to control, not too heavy, pretty ergonomical. In fact, the Makita is heavier. It probably has a bigger motor, to be fair. And again, by the way, that Erbauer grinder is only 70 quid versus 180 quid. So you be the judge. Let's get the torch out of the way. I mean, look, it's a torch, it's $17.99, it's got a magnet on it, it's got a hook on it. What more is there to say? It lights things up and it has 3 settings. It's a torch at the end of the day, and the important thing is it runs on the same battery platform. So for the kit, it's cheap, it's a perfect little add-on for the price. So we've done 5 out of our 10 tools, and so far they're doing pretty well. Now before we do the next 5, if you are enjoying the video, hit like, and if you're not, well, hit like anyway. And hit subscribe to help this second channel get on the screens of more people, which will help it grow, meaning better videos for you guys at home. Jigsaw next, certainly one of the first tools you'll probably add to your kit, a very versatile tool. This has a blower on there. You can see it's got the little blower setting. That'll blow away all the dust as you work, so you can see where you're working, and that's a feature you find on a lot of the much more expensive tools. So we'll leave the blower on. We have also got a mitre setting. So that is so we can set our tool to say 45 degrees and make mitered cuts. The adjustment on the foot there seems a little bit crude, but look, it does the job. And you've got speed settings on there as well. So it's got a guard on the front and a light as well. And we're going to pop our Bosch blade into the quick release. You can see that's nice and easy. Let's draw a little line there. We'll just cut that shape with our jigsaw and see what the control and the power is like. The jigsaw is nice and ergonomical. It's fairly light. Overall, I quite like the package. You can see the blower is functional, it's got plenty of power, it's got a light. What more can you want? And this is only 74 quid. Bargain. Now a very popular tool, the circular saw. This one has got the standard blade that came with it. I'm not going to change the blade because a lot of people, this will be a tool that you go out and buy and you're probably not going to grab a blade while you're down there. You're probably going to use the one that's in it. So that's what we're going to do. It has got a few features actually that are really cool. And one of those is a laser. It actually has a laser on it. I've never seen a laser on a circular saw. We'll see if that's a gimmick or whether it's actually any good when we start our test. But we have the standard features, right? We've got a retractable guard. The extraction port looks like it's in a good place. We'll test that out. We'll put an extractor on it. As standard, of course, we can adjust the angle that we cut at. And we've got depth adjustment on there as well. And we can cut up to 60 or 61 mil. 61 mil. So that's actually quite a good depth. So let's see what it's like when we start cutting. It's only 85 quid versus, I don't know what these are, probably 150 or more. So if it can stand up against that in any way, then it's already doing a good job. Let's see what they're like in testing. Things started quite well with the laser looking fairly accurate, but things kind of went downhill from there really, because you can see as I start cutting there's quite a lot of instability in the saw. I was finding it was binding up on my speed square, and then as you can see there, it hits the motor. So I try turning it round and I encounter exactly the same thing. So the only way I could do my cut was to remove the speed square. Now you'll notice with the Makita I don't have the same issue. It's smooth to use and of course it doesn't hit on the motor. So in terms of its accuracy of cut with that laser, it's pretty accurate, albeit a bit gimmicky. Again, personal preference, you might love it. And the extraction's actually really good, no faults there. Power, of course it's down on the Makita, it doesn't cut as smoothly, but it's certainly good enough for everyday use, cutting sheet materials and things like that. For me, the thing that lets it down is that right hand side of blade. It's just not for me. If you're left-handed and you can see the blade because you stand on that side of the saw, brilliant, it's probably perfect for you. For me, I don't find it ergonomical, I don't like it, but then I've spent my life using a right-hand blade saw. I had a DeWalt before this. I had a Makita before the DeWalt and now I'm back to Makita. I've never used right hand side. I can't get my head around it. Personally, for me it's dangerous. I can't work fast with it. I can't work safely with it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you find it completely different. Next is our planer. We're going to use extraction and we're going to plane down this piece of timber here just to really see what it's like. It's not the best example. I'd like to use this on the edge of a door, but I don't have one to use as an example. Now our planer has plenty of adjustment on there in 0.25 mil increments. So we can go up from 0 to 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1 mil, all the way up to 2 mil. So plenty of adjustment on there and it's nice and ergonomical and easy to use. It's a nice looking tool. It's quite crude. There's not a huge amount of features, but one very important feature is the directional dust control. If we're planing this piece of timber, which we will in a second, it's not an interior door, granted, but if we're working like this, we don't want the dust to shoot us in the face. We want it to go away from us, down towards the floor. If we're working like this, we don't want the dust to come towards us. So I love that feature. I love the fact we can put the extractor in there and we can turn the dust control to that direction. We don't need the tube banging against us over this way. It's just a really nice feature to have when your planer has that multi-directional dust extraction. So we'll plane this bit of timber. The blade looks razor sharp. There's no battery in there, so I can touch that. Razor sharp. And yeah, we'll set it to, I think we'll set it to 1 mil, and then we will plane this bit of timber and see what we get. I mean, there's not much to say. It's effective. It's given us a nice finish, it's sharp, it's got plenty of power, and for 89 quid, it's a bit of a bargain really. I'd definitely add that one to the toolbox. Now, if you want the chance of winning a power tool kit rather than buying one, then head over to Ultimate Tool Competitions, where this week, we're giving you guys the chance to win this 9-piece Makita power tool kit. Every single week, we kit people out with power tools. In the first 3 months alone, we've already sent out over 17 grand's worth of power tools. All you need to do is get your name in the hat for this, grab a few tickets. The tickets are just £1. There aren't many of them, and at the end of the week you could be the owner of a massive Makita kit. Right, back to the video. Now we're moving on to our SDS drill. These are £159, so pretty cheap. Now it's a really compact package. You can see it's light, it's compact in comparison to the Makita equivalent, which by the way is double the money, so bear that in mind. This is nice and compact, nice and light, but will that compromise on its power? I think it will, but let's find out in a minute when we put it to the test. It doesn't have a huge amount of features, this, like the Makita is completely full of features, but you would expect it to be. For example, the handle actually moves to stop vibration. Now this does have the usual features: drill, hammer drill, and hammer or breaker, but we'll see if it's got the power for that in a minute. So we're going to run a couple of things in it today: a 10mm SDS bit, let's see what the chuck is like, pretty standard, and a breaker bit as well, just a short breaker bit. So let's test the Erbauer first with the 10mm SDS bit and see how it fares against these very hard paving stones. So that went all the way through, no trouble at all. It's actually got quite a lot of power, to be fair. It has surprised me. Let's see how the Makita does, just for a benchmark. So smoother to use, certainly, with the anti-vibration, but was it much harder with the Erbauer? Not really. So that makes the Erbauer certainly a tool that you're not going to use it every day maybe, and it might not live up to trade use. You'd probably break it quite quickly, but for the DIYer, it made light work of it. Let's get the breaker out and see if we can bust this paving stone. So let's try and break the corner off. Again, is it going to break up loads of hard concrete? Probably not, but for the odd little job, I don't really think you can beat it. But what we do see is that certainly for breaking a block like this, the Makita is more effortless and more powerful, but you'd expect it to be at double the money. You've got to remember that that 40-volt Makita is top of the range. It's even higher than the 18-volt Makita and more powerful. So in that respect, granted, it is an unfair comparison. What I would say is if you had this as your only breaker, it wouldn't stand up to a huge amount of work, so you would need to add a bigger breaker to your kit. But for an everyday SDS, it's compact and it's got enough features at a budget price to get the job done for your everyday DIY. Now, what I would like to see, if I could add one thing, is a speed adjustment. There's no speed adjustment on there. It just is what it is. So anyway, a pretty good tool. Let's move on to the last one out of the 10, and then we'll look at the storage. And the last of our 10 core Erbauer tools is the orbital sander. Now you get this with a little dust collection box that just slots on there. I'm going to run a dust extractor instead, and that'll give us, to be fair, a good example of how effective the dust collection is. So we're just going to pop our disc on there, which we got with the tool, which is handy, and then we can use it to sand down this MDF along that cut that we made earlier. Now, one thing I don't like is where they put the speed control. It's good that there is a speed control. There needs to be on an orbital sander, but when you use this with the palm of your hand, you're going to hit that speed control. And it's not like it clicks in a very positive way either. You could end up moving that without realizing very easily. Now I've seen that done on another big brand. I think it was Milwaukee. If you look on a Makita or a DeWalt, it's out the way and you're not going to hit it. But Milwaukee did fail to that same, in my opinion, error. So it's just one thing to note. But it's compact, it's lightweight, it should be nice and easy to use. Oh, and the best bit about this little sander is it's only 70 quid. In fact, 69.99. There you go, a bit behind the scenes. You can see that it's sanded that down. I purposely beveled the edge of that bit of MDF just to show you how easy it is to control the sander, really. It's made a nice finish. No complaints, a good little sander, especially for the money. So that is the last of our core power tool selection from Erbauer. We've got the storage to look at yet, so don't go anywhere. But all in all, the only tool I don't really like out of that lot is the circular saw. I could not get on with that. The rest, certainly as a DIYer, I could get on with day to day. They're fine. Now, as a tradesman, would they be up to the task? It really does depend. If you're just starting out, maybe. If you're using them every day, you may end up breaking them. so you might want to go for something a little bit more expensive. But if we look at where they sit within the market, you've got things like your Parkside right at the bottom are very cheap, things like Temu, Amazon tools, very cheap. Then I think you've got the Erbauer range, and then above that you've got DeWalt, Makita, Milwaukee, Bosch and things like that. So I think they sit somewhere in between, and they're certainly worth a look. Now let's move on to the storage system and see what that is like. So this is the Connex modular storage system, Erbauer's answer to tool storage. But how does it stand up to one of the most premium storage systems and best on the market, the Flex Stack Pack? Well, I'll start with the obvious. This is a lot more expensive. This Stack Pack without the middle box, this is extra, is 349 quid. This also has tool rail attachments and a level holder around this side as well. So there is probably somewhere around the £500 mark at a guess in the Stack Pack here. This is not a review of the Stack Pack, by the way, but if you want one of them, let me know. Now, the Erbauer, on the other hand, is 109 quid without the crate. So the crate, to chuck the additional stuff in, I think that's about 20 quid, and this is 109 quid. Now you get a lot for 109 quid. Of course, there's going to be quality differences. The first thing I notice is the clips. Whilst they seem a bit cheap and rattly, of course that's where the price difference comes in. They do lock in really positively and nicely, and they're easy to use. And one thing that really annoys me with tool storage systems is when you can't locate your top box onto the middle box, for example, you end up with this. You end up trying to find the location points. With this, it's quite nice and positive. You can't really miss, and then it's easy to clip it back on, and it's not going to fall off. It's nice and sturdy, so that's a good point. Our top organizer here, really useful, and you can open it whilst it's still attached to the trolley, which is great. I like that. The storage itself is nice and customizable. I like that. You can adjust it to whatever your needs might be. You could even take out the majority of these and lay tools next to them. Again, nice positive fasteners. They're good. It rolls nicely and freely, but what I do find is it's a little bit rattly, and the wheels are of quite a low plastic quality in comparison to the Stack Pack. If we look here, they're kind of rubberized, but not really. They're just a plastic wheel at the end of the day, and they do rattle as you go over rough concrete. In comparison to the Stack Pack, where it's got nice rubber tires, again, that's where you're going to find those price differences in little things like that, and the materials that are used to create both of these storage systems. But for the money, can we really grumble? Now, it does fall foul to the usual fault with all these storage systems. You can't access the boxes with the one above it attached. It's really annoying. We can't get in this. If we need to get some tools out of there, we can't get in it. The Stack Pack's a little bit different. I've got that additional box on there with the flip up door, which allows me to get to the more common tools in the bottom boxes, because of course we always put our most heavy tools in the bottom and then we can't get to them. That's really annoying. Whereas the Stack Pack, I can. This is Flex's answer to that problem. You can't do that with this. But if we take that top box off, we can see that there's that annoyance again. You can't even get in that box without it hitting against the trolley. So we'll take it off, move it forward a bit, and we can see you get a tray and a nice big storage bin. So not bad, plenty of storage for your tools. And the bottom one, they've got round that flip up issue that they've got with a handle by making that a removable one for all the big tools to go in the bottom. Plenty of storage in there as well, although no organizer. Now the boxes, durable, you can use them to stand on. That's really good. But what I do notice is all these boxes have a weatherproof seal on them, which means you can use them in the great British weather, and that is a massive plus. So there's not much in terms of features, but there is a lot in terms of storage, and there's a lot of attachments that you can buy, bags, the crate that we've got over there. So all in all, not bad at all, especially for the money. So at the end of the day, of course, this all boils down to one thing: money. As with the storage, the whole of that tool range from Erbauer, they give you good performance for the money, except maybe that circular saw. Not a fan of that. But a whole toolkit, including storage, for 942 quid, that is an absolute bargain. And hopefully this video's helped you in your buying decision. If it has, click on one of these because you're bound to like them as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.